Hey guys, I want to come on here and talk about this sexual degeneracy among these pork rind females, because whenever we get into talking about these situations, um, generally this cave beast female is exempt from a lot of deviltry that she actually facilitates and condones. A lot of people ignore the fact that even if you talk about white supremacy in this country, you have these degenerate cave animals raising the men that a lot of people complain about. So just in general, you just don't hear about a lot of the degeneracy that comes from this caveling female, although I believe that the caveling female is more to blame for racism and white supremacy than her male counterpart. And the reason being is because she raises and instills and indoctrinates the mindset of these racist men that people care about, complain about. But as it pertains to swirlers don't really acknowledge this. And usually the male swirlers don't really acknowledge white women's role in not only black men's immediate direct oppression, but in the maintenance of the system of white supremacy and the continuation of it. Because again, like I said, who is raising the men that they complain about? Now, this case, and I'm going to play this short little news clip, you had 5 CNAs accused of having sex with patients. Now, this isn't the first time we've heard this. We've been heard stories of pork rind females, and their inability to control having sex with old people in vulnerable situations. Again, this is sexual depravity that they engage in. They are also the ones who have sex with lions, tigers, bears, and horses. So this is just a part of their pathology. Let's look at this clip, and then I'll come back with some commentary.
Assistants in Northeast Iowa are now charged with sexually exploiting patients. The arrests come after 2 other CNAs were arrested and charged earlier this month. The incidents allegedly took place at Prairie View Residential Care in Fayette, a facility for mentally disabled adults. One woman was found to have had sexual relations with a patient when she was employed there back in 2015. 2 others reportedly had sexual relationships with patients as well in 2016. The investigation continues. More charges could be filed.
Of 5 former employees are accused of having sex with patients at a care facility in Northeast Iowa. All 5 are charged with sexual exploitation by a counselor or therapist. The 5 are accused of having sex with patients while working at Prairie View Residential Care Facility in the town of Fayette between the years of 2015 and 2016. That facility cares for patients with chronic mental illness, intellectual disabilities, or for medical conditions.
Now, how depraved do you have to be where your preference is people with mental illnesses, but that's what they were into? That's exactly what they were into. But again, this is just a mindset. This is just who they are. This is what they do. Now, I want to try to go into some of the details because, as you notice, both video clip was only 30 seconds. And of course, they'll do that because they're dealing with some caveling females. But they said they were accused of having sex with patients. Jamie Pagel, Shelby Sebring, and Carolyn Weinrich were discharged from the Center for Unhealthy Relationships with Patients. They were arrested on March 23rd. I want you guys to look at the charges that they're putting on them. If you have a person who is mentally impaired and unable to consent to sex, that's not a relationship. That's a sexual abuse. That's a raping. But what they're doing is they're charging them for an unhealthy relationship with patients, really. So this is how you end up with skewed crime data, because although these people were sexually assaulting and giving and forcibly having sex with people who are too cognitively impaired to really consent to sex, they're being charged with having an unhealthy relationship which implies consent with patients, okay? The arrest came after an investigation following 2 certified nursing assistants arrested on March 5th for sexual exploitation while being employed at Prairie View Residential Care Facility. These CNAs have violated the trust of not only their employees, but also the families of these patients who put their trust in these individuals to care for their family members. Sheriff Marty Fisher told KCRG-TV. Carolyn Weidrich, 44, of Summer, was found to have sexual relations. Look, again, the language, they're saying sexual relations. Whenever you hear terms like sexual relations or relationships, that's implying some kind of consent or some kind of mutual desire to engage in that behavior. So again, it's a part of their code, with them trying to downplay what these people were doing. If this was a sexual relationship, if it was any type of relationship, they would not be being charged with a crime. There is no crime against having relationships with people. The crime comes in when this is cognitive impairment. That means that that the person whose sexual acts are being imposed against is not able to consent to it. So when you look at the language, then you see the code that they're on. Because if this was a black person, let's say this was a black man, would they be referring to it as a sexual relationship, or would they be saying it was rape or molestation or whatever else it really was? But since these are older white women, they're not even going to use the appropriate language, let alone give the appropriate charges. An investigation found in 2016, Shelby Sebring, 24, of Hawkeye, and Jamie Pagel, 32, of Summer, had sexual relationships, again, with patients while working at the Prairie View Residential Care Facility. You guys have to understand this repeated type of language. You can't have a relationship with a cognitively impaired person. You can't do that. Same thing. They never call sex with a person that's drunk who cannot consent. They never call that a relationship. They never say, oh, they had sexual relations. They'll say this person was raped because they were drunk and could not consent. But when it comes to these pork rinds who are having sex and raping patients who cannot consent, they'll call it a sexual relationship. During the time of the crime, all patients were ordered to the Prairie View Residential Care Facility for treatment. The three women later bonded out of the Fayette County Jail on a $10,000 bond. If convicted, they each could face 5 years in prison and be required to register on the sex offender registry. The investigation is ongoing, and authorities are considering other incidents where charges could be filed. Okay, but they're not going to do that, because if they're not even going to get the verbiage right, how likely is it that they're going to charge them appropriately? Because number one, they keep saying they had unhealthy relationships, sexual relationships. So you're not even getting the verbiage right. These were disgusting, old, worn out, pig-skinned sexual predators who were preying on cognitively impaired and mentally incapacitated people. Clearly showing that in real life they're so disgusting with that nasty pork vagina that no sane consenting person would even want to have sex with them. Clearly they believe that they wouldn't want to have sex with them, or else why not go have sex with a person who can actually consent to you? What they wanted to do is they wanted to get over and take advantage of someone. This is just their psychology, okay? Because generally rapes and sexual assaults are not about the sex alone, it's about power. They're in a position where they have some power over people. They thought that they weren't going to get caught. They thought they could just do whatever they want to, go around victimizing people, because you're dealing with a group of people who thrive on the extent to which they can victimize and disenfranchise other people. If they are not able to do that, then to them, they're not living in a world that they want to be in. This is who they're dealing with. And this is why I tell Black people to expect them to just one day decide that they no longer want to benefit from white supremacy is lunacy, okay? But they're not going to do that, because they enjoy knowing that they can get over on Black people and still have sex with them, still have children with them, still be around them. They enjoy the fact that they can perpetuate white supremacy against Black people and still have sex with Black people and be in relationships and have Black people advocate for them and have Black people defend them. So this right here is Black people giving them power and reinforcing their supremacy, the myth of supremacy. And at this point, we can't even say it's a myth, because a myth is a falsely held belief. Black people have to think that these people are superior if you would allow them to perpetuate and benefit from your oppression, and you will still give them the privilege and the advantage of being with you. Whenever a victimizer can have sexual access to their victims who are voluntarily giving them that sexual access, then yes, they are superior. And that's right here, they're showing you further because Black people are unwilling to effectively address this system of white supremacy, and specifically this unjust system. Because we can sit here and say, oh, it's a justice system. No, it's not. It's a racially based unjust system that's designed to give privilege to pork rinds at the expense of Black people. Black people refuse, by and large, to address this the way that they need to. And one reason for that is because back in the pre-civil rights and civil rights era, it didn't matter the financial or social status of a Black person. All of them were niggers as far as the system of white supremacy was concerned. That's still the case today. However, you do have wealthy Black people. You have wealthy Black people who have some privileges, although they're still subjected to white supremacy, so they're not exempt from it. But white supremacy is providing the illusion that these Black celebrities have some benefits that they don't really even have, because you see the same injustice is happening to these so-called celebrities. But in the mind of these celebrities, they're somehow set apart from the rest of the Black collective. So they have no vested interest in doing anything to benefit the system that affects Black people that they're even subjected to. So therefore, you have a problem. Now, Black people could choose to send a very clear message to celebrities that, hey, we're not going to support you financially. We're not going to continue to make you a celebrity, because understand, if Black people ignored these celebrities, everyone would ignore these celebrities. But Black people refuse to do that. They still worship celebrities, and they don't really hold celebrities to any standard in terms of using their position to do something and make an impact on this society. So again, I'll say it like I did in the last video. Black people are just as guilty for the continuation of the system of white supremacy as white people are. Let me know what you guys think, though. Thank you for your support. I'll see you in the next video.